Hi everyone, welcome. I am going to show you, well, me and my little buddy over there. Say hi. Say hi, neighbors. I'm going to tell you a bit about my project I did for Ling 508, Computational Techniques for Linguists, um, at the University of Arizona. So my intent with this project was to create an interface where someone can search languages based on language family, based on branch, based on number of speakers, a whole list, which I will go over. Here are some of my use cases. I will provide the link for the repository, the GitHub repository down below. So you can search a language like French. You can search by language family. You can search by family branch. You can search by script, search by speakers, and search by country, by the number of countries spoken. And so all this is based on various web scrapings. You can see more on the web scraping Jupyter Notebook. Most are from Wikipedia, and it's of languages with over 50 million speakers. And so I inputted it into a SQL database with two tables, one about language informations, which I will go over later, one about scripts. And so all that came together, and I also created a language object. Here is the language object. It comes with language name, ISO code, family, which is the family enumeration object, which you can see here. Language branch, the branch enumeration, countries, and script is a list of scripts. Each one goes one language objects per one, except there can be infinite number of scripts. And then I have country spoken and integer and language speakers. After, so I have the language objects. And then I work with my SQL repository. I get helper functions to help map the SQL entries to to the language objects. And then I load the languages. And so that gets me a list of language objects. Um, and you can see my repo test, which creates some language objects, and I go through and get the different mapping, and you can see that in this SQL test. I map families and make sure it's the same. This is what a MySQL entry would look like. So I go through and I load everything, and yeah. Next comes the functions in my MySQL repository that actually does the querying. So it queries from the database that I called in the beginning. So again, it goes with my use cases, languages by name, by family, and it maps them to an object. So each one returns a list of language objects that match the query, ordered by name, so it's alphabetical. And so these are all them. And I have tests, so search by language, get see French, and all these tests go with my use cases. So search by Dravidian, you get Canada, Tamil, and Telugu, and all that. And so let's get into the API interface. So I'm going to be going over my API that I wrote. This is using Flask and Course, and it has different routes, which I will show you more about interacting with the local host. All these use get methods because I want to get things from the database. So I have one for all my use cases and one for loading all of it. I get the JSON of it, which is the JSON of the language object, because the services return a list of language objects. So I have all these routes, get speakers, get countries with entries. Let's take a look at how to interact with the API. So here's my page for my language API. Goes through all the different cases and how to get it using the API directly. So let's take a look about what this looks like as the endpoint and the field. So it has all these languages. Now let's take a look at speakers. Again, you could go through and do all this on your own. And this leads to the three we saw in the use cases, the three languages. You can also do use curl for this, branch Germanic, and here's what we just did was this command. You can run it through curl that way. All right, so this is my HTML for it, and it pretty much uses the get methods and some JavaScript and put it all together, and you get this interactive platform. So let's go through our use cases. For our language, we did French. And you could do it lowercase and uppercase. I have a function that changes it. So it has that information. We did Dravidian for our use case, and now it has all these three. Language family, we did Germanic, and this should output two. These two for script, we did Devanagari, and that should output these three. And for our test case, we did 50 to 60 million speakers, and I put a range, but you can select whatever there, and then enter number of countries. We did 10 through 13, and that should return 3. All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much. And feel free to interact with this and take a look at the README for how to get this working on your local machine.